Hey, welcome back to Civil War Relics, and today I'm going to be talking about dragoons. So, dragoon was a term for mounted European infantrymen of the 17th and 18th century. Um, and the term dragoon itself comes from a firearm with the name dragoon from a French company. And it literally dragoon stands for fire breathing dragon. Um, Dragoons were trained from horseback with pistols and swords, and they were also trained on foot. So they are pretty much the badasses. They were mounted infantry and cavalry ready to break lines, basically. That's what they were for. In 1861, the name Dragoon kind of died out, and everything was renamed Cavalry, which ended the era of Dragoon. But a lot of people held on to this title because a lot of these generals that were Dragoons during the Mexican American War, still wanted to be considered a Dragoon. I'm going to talk about a pretty famous Confederate dragoon because dragoons served on both sides. And this is a man named Stith Bolling. So, Stith Bolling entered Confederate forces as a sergeant in the Lynchburg Light Dragoons, which became Company G of the 9th Virginia Cavalry eventually. Stith Bolling led the largest cavalry company in command by Jeb Stuart. And he sustained 6 wounds throughout the war, and the most serious one was a head injury, so he took a shot to the head and still kept going. He earned the title Grand Commander because he became the commander of the UCV, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after this. So, these are two different dragoon buttons. One is a coat and one is a cuff. The coat here is the first button I ever bought that I thought was Civil War. But when I got it in the mail, I was a little bit disappointed because it kind of looks like to me this is something someone buried underneath their house, and it's just a fantasy piece. Because almost all northern buttons had the maker's mark on the back of them, which this one just has some crusty stuff on it, which I don't even know what that is. So this is a suspect button, and I wouldn't consider it, one of my Civil War buttons. But I did purchase a cuff button from a proper dealer, Shiloh Relics, which I always recommend. And this button was made by a company called Meiser Philly out of Boston. And you will see their back mark on here. With Civil War era buttons, if you're buying Union ones, they're going to have a back mark. With Confederate ones, they most of the time have a back mark, except for the local made ones. They were crudely made. Yeah, so this is a picture of Stith Bolling. Like I said, he earned the title of Grand Commander because he was head of the UCV of Virginia after the World War. After the Civil War. My apologies. So this was a very badass man, military trained, hardened from the Mexican-American War all the way to the Civil War. And then he ran tobacco firms out of Virginia and was the head of the UCD. So he was in charge of the parades and all that stuff, And then here's just a little cool thing I have of General Jeb Stuart, which Sithel was the commander of his cavalry. This has a little glass dome that goes over top of it to protect it. It's a pretty cool piece, just to have. But yeah, these are dragoon buttons, and I hope you learned a little something, and thanks for watching.